Yadayo Nripa Sambandhat Vishnaya Snehad Sambandhat Vishnaya Snehad Yuyam Bhakcha Vayam Vibo Yuyam Bhakcha Vayam Vibo Kopya Kamat Vayat Kanso Vishakchen Yadayo Nripa Sambandhan Vishnaya Sneha Yuyam Bhakcha Vayam Vivo Gopya Kamad Vayat Kamso Vaishakche Yadayo Nipa Sambandhan Vishnaya Sneha Yuyam Bhakcha Vayam Vivo. So, Gopya Vayat out of fear. Kamsa, King Kamsa, Vaishat out of envy. Chaitya Adaya, Shishapal and others. Nipa, kings. Sambandhat out of kinship. Vishnaya, Vishnis or the Yadavas. Snehat out of affection. Yuyam, you the Pandavas. Bhakcha, by devotional service. Vayam, we go, O great king. My dear king, use the gopis by their lusty desires, Kamsa by his fear, Shishapal and other kings by envy, the Yadus by their familiar relationship with Krishna, you Pandavas by your great affection for Krishna, we, the general devotees, by devotional service, obtain the mercy of Krishna. Different persons achieve different types of mukti. Sayuja, Salokya, Sarupya, Samipya, and Shasta, according to their own intense desire, which is called Bhav. Thus it is described here that the gopis, by their lusty desires, which were based upon their intense love for Krishna, became the most beloved devotees of the Lord. Although the gopis of Vrindavan expressed their lusty desires in relationship with the Paramo, Parakya Ras, they actually had no lusty desires. This is significant of spiritual advancement. The desires appeared lusty, but actually they were not lusty desires of the material world. Chaitanya Charitamrita compares the desires of the spiritual and material world to gold and iron. Both gold and iron are metal, and there is a vast difference in their value. The lusty desire of the gopis for Krishna are compared to gold, and material lusty desires are compared to iron. The enemies of Krishna merged into the existence of Krishna. Why should Krishna's friends and devotees have the same position? Krishna's devotees attain the association of the Lord, as is the owner of the many wonders in three worlds. He has exalted devotion to Narayana, Aishwarya. The Vishnu family Yadavas and the father and mother of Krishna and Vrindavan all have familiar relationships with Krishna. Krishna's foster father and mother in Vrindavan brother. So this section of the Bhagavatam, the point that keeps coming up is that the Lord is equal to everyone, and then it's being qualified. Now it's being qualified. Although he's equal to everyone in the sense that he will reciprocate with everyone according to how they reciprocate with him. Now it's becoming obvious that if you have affection for the Lord, then that's different than if you have fear or envy of the Lord. Although everyone gets rewarded in some way now. So it's recommended that we don't become demons, because then you only get to merge into the Lord. And the highest is to be a gopi, or to aspire to that love. And the love of the gopi is referred to as raganuga. Raga means to blush, and nuga means to follow those that blush with passion for Krishna. So before we can understand what pure love is, we have to be able to express ourselves. There's a beautiful verse. One of the here describes those playful affairs with the gopis in Braj. Immediately attains pure devotional service, and he very quickly becomes sober and conquers lust, disease of the heart. So the nature of gold is that you may have something which you consider very valuable, which would be your materialistic desires, and then you're carrying this piece of iron around with you because you think it's good, it's a piece of metal, and iron can be very useful. You can make a car with it, you can hit someone in the head with it, you can make a sword out of it. So iron is very useful. And then one day someone comes up and says, I've got this gold, how do you fancy trading your iron for my gold? And usually we're able to give up the iron. In the same way we have lusty desire, but if we're able to experience pure love, then that pure love is so much more valuable and fulfilling that it's then very easy to give up the iron. So along the way, before receiving the gold, we may still be very attached to the iron. And how the iron has been very useful actually. In many ways we've used it for all types of things in the material world, and without it we wouldn't have got where we are today. So we'll be very attached to the iron. And so Krishna is encouraging us to accept the gold, and that we would lose interest in the iron. Param Prastvana Bhavate, Vishaya Vilivartante, Vinaharashi. One who experiences the high taste or the bliss is able to cease the lower taste. So although we may have attraction to material objects, when we experience a higher taste, then we remove that desire. So Krishna consciousness is about visual renunciation. It's just upgrading, accepting nice food, that's a bunch of eating meat. And we had a lot of vegan sausages in it, which in the middle of the pandemic. And so much like a normal. So it just reminded me of my sausage days, which are long in the past. 40, must be over 40 years ago, I had a real sausage. I had a sausage for 40 years. So now it's disgusting, because now I have I have prashada, which is like gold, and the sausage was like iron. So that's what it's like. You're giving up something lower and accepting something higher. But the problem is, if you lose your taste for Krishna consciousness, then you can start finding pleasure again in mundane things. So that's the challenge along the way. Can you keep pushing forward in your Krishna consciousness so it stays fresh? As soon as you stop surrendering, Krishna consciousness becomes stale. And stale Krishna consciousness is not as interesting as fresh Maya. Would you like a plate of stale Krishna consciousness or a plate of fresh Maya? Well, I think I'll go for the fresh Maya. So if we're in a stale state of consciousness, which does happen from time to time, we stagnate a little bit, and we know we have to push forward. That's why it's nice to go out and approach people with Srila Prabhupada's books, because we live in a very small world otherwise, and little things become very big things. And we need to go out and see the bigger picture and realize there's a lot worse going on in the world than someone not giving you enough halva on Sunday, which becomes a major catastrophe if this is the tiny world that you live in. So it's good to go out and see what's actually going on in the material world, and how confused and how tormented people are. And then it helps us to be more grateful for what we have, and deepen our appreciation. Any questions or comments? So why are the lusty desires of the gopis compared to gold, as opposed to material lusty desires which are compared to iron? What is the special quality about the lusty desires of the gopis that is not there in the material world? So the reason why the Gopis' love is considered the foremost is because it encapsulates all the other forms of love. So there's neutrality, then there's servitude, friendship, parenthood, and if you look in the material world, people are very attracted to going to watch a romance and a love story, and the film always culminates with the cowboy with the beautiful blonde in his arms, and he gives her a big kiss, and then it goes to the end, and everyone's like, "Oh, that's nice." So that's the ultimate, the Adi Ras, the ultimate Ras, is the attraction between the male and the female. And so if you don't understand the love of Radharani and Krishna, then you'll be attracted to the mundane reflection of that, and you'll try to be Krishna, and you'll be looking for your Radharani. So but in its pure state, the conjugal ras contains all the other rasas. You can serve Krishna, you can befriend Krishna, you can look after him and protect him, like a parent. All those are contained within. So, and the other amazing thing about the gopis explains in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, when the gopis see that Krishna is pleased with another gopi, or if they can bring Krishna to Radharani, then their pleasure increases 10 million times. And when we have a very, very scant glimpse of that in this material world. I was reading a book about lost connections, Johann Hari, and there's a thing called sympathetic joy. And this woman, her husband had left her for somebody else, and she had so much hatred inside her, so much intense resentment that was affecting her health. And they said that's the main cause of cancer, actually. So she lent sympathetic joy, that when she saw this woman with her husband, she was happy that she was happy. So it takes some getting used to do it. But this is what the gopis are like. They're happy to see Krishna happy, and whatever brings in the most happiness, they're prepared to do that. And that's pure love. It's very rare you'll find that in the material world. The man likes the woman, And then the woman says, he thinks he loves her, and then the woman says, I love you really much, Henry, but I've fallen in love with Alfred, and I think I'm going to be happier with Alfred than I am with you. Now, if Henry really loved Melanie, he would be so pleased that Melanie was even happier with Alfred. He would say, listen, Melanie, my only pleasure is yours. If you're happy with Alfred, you go with Alfred, and I'll buy you 2 tickets for the pictures, and I hope you have a great time and a great life. So that's pure love. Now, it's very rare you're going to see that in the tarot world, In fact, if we went back and told his friends, they said, hey, Henry, where's Melanie? Oh, I just bought them some tickets. She's just found Alfred. Are you crazy? You should have killed Alfred. If a man got him a ticket, what are you talking about? Are you crazy? So so it's very rare. We'll see. And the other thing as well is love takes time to develop, and we only have one lifetime. 20 of that is spent, being an idiot. Another 20 is spent being a mental retard. And then in the middle, you have just a few years, and of that you spend half of it asleep. So how do you ever really develop a deeper relationship with anybody? It's so fast. And even the person you love, she's decomposing, and he's decomposing before your very eyes. Within 5 years, everything's changed. She doesn't look the same. He doesn't look the same. Whereas if it's eternal love, can you imagine how deep that must go? That you've always loved this person, and you're just finding newer and newer and newer ways of appreciating and pleasing that person. I mean, to do that over infinity is inconceivable, what that must be like. So, Vikriditam Rajavadabedam Vishnu is encouraging us to have faith and to deeply, deeply understand in a profound way what real love is, what gold actually is, so that we can give up the iron. Because for us, the iron is the all in all. We're taking that as, well, that's it's the only real pleasure I've got in life. We were just saying yesterday, we were driving back, Colin and I, we're looking at all the cars zooming around, we're just reflecting. If they took sex desire out, if nobody was going to get any sex enjoyment, it was banned, and if you were caught, you got life imprisonment, and nobody would be bothering getting in the cars and going anywhere, because everything is driven by this. They're all out making money so that they can make the arrangements, so that they can have their enjoyment with the opposite sex. If you take that away, everything comes crashing down. There's no incentive to do anything. You don't need anyone anymore. You've got no one to impress. You don't have to wear any fancy aftershave or any cool clothes or even have a nice car. You can just have a junky car and go around in a pair of corduroy flares, and who cares anyway? So everything becomes demotivated. The whole thing has been driven by this attraction. And it's the same in the spiritual world, but the attraction there is between Radha and Krishna. The original ras is their relationship, and then everyone in the creation is assisting them in one way or another, to try and enhance. And then as they become satisfied, everyone becomes so satisfied. Just like the film, when the cowboy kisses the blonde, everyone at home goes, a happy ending. So nice. I mean, she deserved him. He was a total hero, and he deserves her. She's completely beautiful. Oh, it's so nice. She's got the best guy, and he got the best girl. I mean, can you imagine at the end of the film, he goes, oh, honey, I really love you, honey. And then she turns, and it's a big fat woman with a wart in the end of her nose. And she's got no teeth, and she goes, I love you too, honey. And it's like, oh, that's not a good ending, It's got to be the best woman and the best man, then everything's cool, She deserves him. He deserves her. So that's what it is. That's what the spiritual world is. So people don't really think, do they? They don't really stand back and think, why am I happy that the cowboy got the blonde? Okay. I didn't get her. I should be unhappy, but I'm okay. I think, well, no, he's more qualified than I am. I wouldn't have done what he did. So he deserves it, He paid the price. He saved their life. He risked his own. Fair dues. He should get it, So that's what Radharani and Krishna are like. They deserve each other. And anything that's going to stop that or impede that, then our life's mission is to prevent that and assist them. That's what the Maha Mantra is. actually. So that's gold. Vikriditam Rajavadabhya. Vadubhya is young ladies. Vraj or Vraj. Vikriditam is sporting. Vikriditam Rajavadabhya idam to Vishnu. With Vishnu, is Krishna is sporting with the young gopis. And this is, if we can understand what this actually is and have faith in this, then we can become sober, we can conquer lust in the heart, and we can attain bhakti bhavam, the highest devotional sentiment towards Krishna is evoked by hearing about these pastimes with Krishna and the gopis. Well, the just like the king might be called Charlie, and some people might think, well, he's a proper Charlie, because Charlie doesn't sound as good as the king. So sometimes just to emphasize the significance of and Charlie has just given Liz a peck on the cheek, so that doesn't sound so good. But if you say the king has just given the queen a peck on the cheek, it has more significance, So as to in no way undermine the profundity of Vishnu is sporting in this form of Krishna with the gopis. So that you don't just think Krishna's some mundane, because everyone knows who Vishnu is, or that's more established in the Vedic literature, the supremacy of Vishnu, and then Krishna is kind of more confidential. And for most of the living entities, Vishnu is God, because they're in Vaikuntha. It's only the living entities that are in Goloka that understand that Krishna is God. If you look at it, there's only one Goloka Vrindavan. There's trillions and zillions of Vaikuntha planets. Although they say that Goloka is bigger than all of the other planets put together. But Goloka is very big, shaped like a lotus. Shakti, the internal expansions of Radharani. There's the sun and there's the sunshine. There's no meaning to sun without sunshine. You can't have a sun without sunshine. It doesn't mean anything. Oh, look, there's the sun. Well, oh, it's not going to be sunshine, that one, but it is out there. Oh, really, a sun with no sunshine. Pretty useless sun then. So sun means sunshine. So Vishnu Tattva means there must be the energetic and the energy. They have to. In one sense, they're non-different. Simultaneously, so Shakti Tattva, and then there's Jiva Tattva, and then there's Guru Tattva. And Guru Tattva is when the Jiva is empowered by Balaram or Radharani to bring the. You see how Srila Prabhupada was very, very empowered. He could inspire people to do amazing things because he was Guru Tattva. In the spiritual world, it's mainly jivas, yeah. It's mainly jivas in the spiritual world. And it's interesting because here, every jiva's got a Paramatma with him. But in the spiritual world, the Lord is in their heart, but in terms of their being absorbed in the Lord. He's not expanded his Paramatma in everyone's heart. He doesn't need to, because Paramatma escorts us in, it guides us and accompanies us. He accompanies us in the material world. And once we're back in the spiritual world, then we can exist, we can sustain ourselves independently. Well, that's as the story goes. If you look into it, though, it turns out that there was that Krishna was born from Mother Yashoda, but as the pastime goes, he was taken from Devaki and exchanged. But it said that Mother Yashoda did give birth to Krishna, and he merged into the body of Krishna that was brought by Asadeva. So technically, she is the real mother of Krishna. But for the pastime, they're referred to as the foster parents. That's why the gopis were infuriated when Akrura came. He said, "I want to take them back to their real parents." And the gopis were just like, "What are you talking about? Yashoda is his real parent," and they were right. She also gave birth to Krishna. But the Krishna that they brought from Kamsa's dungeons merged into the body of Krishna that was conceived by Yashoda. But for the pastime, and it's foster. Because also the prophecy was that it will be the 8th child of Devaki that will kill. So to keep everything intact. So there's a few. With the pastimes, there's generally a few layers of things going on. We just have the top layer. If you peel the top layer back, there's more going on and more going on. And this person who just seemed like a random washerman that gets his head taken off, there'll be a history behind why that took place, you know. Just like Kubja, there's a history behind who she was. And it's not apparent from the initial pastime. And that's what's amazing, actually. You read Shiv Ramaj's books, he's going into all the books of the Goswamis, Indraju Maharaj as well as in a series of talks. He's going into the archives of the Goswamis. There's pastimes behind pastimes. So then we get a deeper understanding of what's going on. There's one personality that was, she was Putana. She was Putana with Krishna, but she was Vali's sister. Shishikani Tama Pashashi ki jai. She Toshinath Maharaj ki jai. She Giridhari Lal ki jai. She Nasindeva ki jai. So it's good to read and gain more and more knowledge and go deeper and deeper into it, all the different things that are taking place. For foster, Vishnu is Krishna is being referred to as Vishnu, and Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj are being referred to as foster parents. But we can go deeper into that and find out that actually it's Krishna. Actually, they are his parents. But Kamsa is interesting because Kamsa chooses to come back as the Chankazi and be with Lord Chaitanya and engage in pastimes with Lord Chaitanya. And then with Lord Chaitanya, Lord Nrsingadev comes and strokes his nails across his chest. And he says, "You do this again, I'll kill you, and I'll kill all the meat eaters." So Chankazi's like, so he really got the mercy. And at the same time, it says that he went back into the spiritual world and attained a very elevated. But then whether it's the same comes through as well. And, there's all kinds of. That's why it's really helpful to read. Krishna Sangati is taken from Rupa Goswami's Lalita Vidagda Madhava. And Navaraja Mahima by Shiv Ramaj. That's got lots of stories and lots of interesting insights into why things took place the way that they did. You know? And it's interesting as well. Shiv Ramaj was saying in that verse, "Apanasam chitam godan yannama vishogana tata sajam muchita yadvabeti swayam swayambayam." That even if one unconsciously chants the holy name of Krishna, one is freed from the labyrinth of birth and death. So he explains, because one of the acharyas explains, that what it means by unconscious chanting is chanting without faith. That's actually what it means. So if you're thinking, oh, that's fine, then I can totally space out and chant my japa. That's unconscious chanting. You still have to be attentive, but you just may not have that faith. That's unconscious chanting. You're not conscious of what it is. You're not aware of it. And you may have read it, but you don't really believe it. And Parakya is the Parama. They say the Parakya, it's more enthusiastic than Swakya. Swakya rasas where, because there's a part of Goloka where Krishna and Radharani are married, and there's a part of Goloka where they're not. So it's considered more exciting, more enthusiastic, because there's so many obstacles they have to overcome to meet each other. So it makes it more exciting, more of a challenge. And that's our line, that's our Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya, Brahma Gaudiya Madhva Sampradaya. We're in that line of Parakya Ras, seeing that the Parama is the highest. So it seems like lusty desires, but because it's so selfless and so pure and so focused upon pleasing Krishna's senses and not their own, then that's such a rare commodity to come across in the material world. Everyone is motivated in some way. They say they love the person, but they can very quickly hate the person if they don't comply with what they want. Whereas if it's actual love, then you're just happy to see that person happy. Imagine if they had that in schools, educating the children how to cultivate real loving relationships. The 6 living exchanges have got nothing to do with sense gratification. They're all about serving, hearing, revealing the mind, exchanging gifts, offering food, accepting food. These are the loving exchanges. And we've brushed all that aside, and we're just looking at the sense gratification. Well, how much sense gratification can I get out of this? That's not love. That's animalistic. In fact, the animals are better than we are in some ways. You see the pigeons, the same 2 pigeons stay together their whole life. But parrots, they won't conceive publicly. So if you want to breed a parrot, you have to build a little box for them to go in, because they won't do it in public. Not like humans. Some humans. And then they stay with that one parrot, They stay together. So when we say human society is degraded to the level of animals, even the animals have got a few things worked out that they seem to have forgotten these days. And the animals know to go for the opposite sex. They've worked that one out as well. And they don't try and change their gender. That's how they are, so they just go with them. So the desires appeared lusty, but actually they were not lusty desires of the material world. So you could say that the lusty desires of the material world are a perverted reflection of what it should really look like, what it should really be like. Selfless and motivated love. And then it becomes perverted in the material world into something else completely. Well, that's why we have to take birth on the planet where Krishna is performing his pastimes. Well, the preliminary requirement is that you have agreed for these things, and I was asking Shiva Ramaraj about what is that greed, and he was saying it's like a really strong attraction for those pastimes, being very very attracted to those pastimes. That's how the greed. That's how we purchase this lowliam, this intense greed, and then eventually, and then we go to a planet where Krishna's performing pastimes, and then we get to really brush up on our ability to be attracted and develop a loving relationship. If you're very advanced in this lifetime, then you'll experience it with the deities. You see that the deities are no different from, Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya are standing on the altar. But it takes a certain level of consciousness to be able to interact with the deities in a very personal way. Like, you see with Sanatana Goswami, he had Madana Mohan up in a tree, carrying him around in a cloth. And they said to him, we're okay with the dried chapatis, but could you at least get a bit of salt? And Sanatana Goswami said, oh, it's a bit of salt today, tomorrow you'll be wanting sweets. And then, I'm not going to be able to do this, You're going to have to just be, and we went, okay, we'll do fine, dried chapati. So that's why we have the Panchavatriki Vidhi side by side. We take second initiation so that we can develop our relationship with the deities. And if we become advanced in our appreciation of who the deities actually are, then there is a chance we don't have to go onto the planet where Krishna is performing his pastimes in the material world. We can just go straight back to the Lord. So I remember when I first joined, and the whole concept of the deities fascinated me. That we were feeding them and dressing them and putting garlands on them and singing and dancing. And I was thinking, well, the deities it must be so hard for them to just stand still like that. It must be, if I keep watching them long enough, maybe they'll blink, or I'll see them breathing. So I used to be rooted to the deities. I was waiting to see. Sooner or later, they're going to have to do twitch or something. I'll see. And a significant sign is that, and it happens quite often with devotees, great devotees, as they approach the deities and they'll be praying for something. And if a flower falls down or the garland falls, it's a sign that the deities have blessed them, have accepted their prayer more fulfilling. Yeah. Or a tombstone, they're going off for flowers, and they'll even speak, they'll speak to the person. You see the tombstone as like a kind of a proxy of the person, so they'll communicate through that to the person. Well, that's why we have to preach, because we have to develop our understanding of the deities, and then we have to help other people to see them in that way, and to understand that the real way to see the deities is not through your eyes, but through your service, and then the deities will reciprocate. If you've been trying really, really hard, really making a special effort, and you go before the deities, then they look much more alive than they do when you're not. That's why you can go to some temples, maybe not ISKCON temples, where the deities are not looked after so nicely and they're less present. Because the nicer the puja for the deities, the more the Dham manifests. And the more the puja goes down in standard, the more the Dham recedes. So if you go to a temple where the puja is excellent, and everyone's fighting to do some service for the deities, and they just want to please the deities so much, then the spiritual world starts to manifest. So it's an important aspect of the whole process. We have sadhana. Sa is to bestow, and dana means wealth. So the highest wealth is this pure love of the gopis that's being bestowed upon us, and then we implement all the different things that we're doing. If we don't understand why we're doing them, when we're singing in the morning, do we understand what we're singing? Are we taking the time to work out? If we understand what we're singing, we can sing it better, with more feeling. Everything that we're doing, do we understand when we're saying Namo Vishnu Vidaya Krishna Krishna Bhutale? Do we understand what that is, what we're saying, what it means? And the more we're able to do things in knowledge, the more potent are the activities that we do. The more you can include knowledge into what you're doing, the more potent it becomes. And the more potent it becomes, then the quicker you make advancement. And also, it's nice to learn slokas and do the Bhakti Shastri course and become conversant with the philosophy. That is very nice, but that's not the all in all, because that's all based upon memory. And remembering things is nice, but implementation of remembering is the real flowering process. It's the real flowering of the hearing process. You may be hearing and remembering, and that's really, really nice. But hearing and implementing is more important, more significant. And that's the flowering of the hearing process, is when you can hear something, and then from that day on, that becomes something that you do. Like that devotee that heard, if you offer it in your mind, it's the same as just offering directly to the deities. So he thought, wow, that's amazing. So let me make a feast. So he was making these intricate feasts, and he was actually cooking everything, and he had pots and really nice containers. And he was putting the food in and offering it to the deities. And he did this for years. And then one day he burnt his finger on the sweet rice. He was looking at the sweet rice. He said, that's probably too hot. Let me just check it. And then he came out of his meditation. His finger was scorched. And then Lord Narayan was with Lakshmi, and he started laughing. And Lakshmi says, what's so funny, my lord? He says, come with me. And they went on the flower airplane. And as his finger scorched, he was like that. And he saw Narayan and Lakshmi coming on the flower airplane to take the bath. So if you can hear something with faith and think, wow, yeah, okay, I'm going to do that, then that's more important than just studying things. And you only have a kind of theoretical, intellectual grasp of what's going on. But it's not that you really believe it. You can only really believe something when you understand it. Well, conviction is more a function of the intelligence. If you're a very determined person, then you have strong intelligence. Your intelligence will win out against the mind. The mind will say, no, I don't want to do this. And the intelligence will override and say, never mind what you want, we're doing this. Because I know this is the right thing to do. So you brush aside the mind and you override it. And unless you have that strong determination, then even though you may be very intelligent, your intelligence will be ruined by the mind. You may have studied cigarette smoking for 20 years, and you know all the formations of molecules. You can draw all the different stages. You know everything about it, but you still smoke cigarettes. So theoretical knowledge, if you have conviction, you're very determined. Like Dhruv Maharaj, he had a material desire, but his devotion service was referred to as Tivrena. Tivrena means it was very, very powerful. His determination was very powerful. And that attracted Vishnu to come down and give darshan, because he was so determined. So that determination is a very attractive quality. It's also attractive not just to Krishna, but it's attractive to other people as well. And they tend to become leaders. People will flock around somebody with conviction and determination. I mean, Srila Prabhupada, it wasn't so much what he said, it was the conviction with which he said it that really hit it home, you know. He was just so, because the people that are arguing against it, they're only speculating that Krishna doesn't exist. But you can't really know that Krishna doesn't exist. You can only really know that Krishna does exist. You can only assume that he doesn't exist because you've not seen him, but you don't know. But when you've seen Krishna, then you know. So your conviction is much stronger. You can override somebody else, even though they've got all the arguments and all the intellectualisms. But by your sheer conviction, you can say nonsense, nonsense. Krishna does exist. Krishna, and that Srila Prabhupada at the time, that's how he did it, and he was encouraging the disciples, become bold, you know, have this conviction and become bold. And when people say nonsense, say this is nonsense. You don't know this. How do you know that? Well, we'll prove it in the future. And Prabhupada said, he said, in the future, kick on face. I kick on face. Nonsense. And they say, oh, we're trying. They said, Prabhupada, they're trying. You said, trying? Nonsense. Kick on face. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Iskon Guruvinda ki jai, Shishikonitai Mahaprashashi ki jai, Gaura Premanande, Hari Bol.